Okay, hi everyone. If you're on right now, we're just checking our audio, so we're going to wait another minute or two and make sure everyone has a chance to join us. Mr. Sindorf, do you want to say a few words so we can just make sure that's working?
Sure. I can hear you loud and clear on your end. Hopefully I can be heard as well.
Great. We have Mr. Staluppi watching at home, giving us a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Says he sounds good. Okay, great. So I'm going to start this by saying if it looks like I'm in my car, I am, in fact, in my car. My wife's family lives on a farm in the middle of nowhere, and in order to get internet fast enough to stream anything, I need to go to the local library parking lot. So that's where I am. So I apologize if throughout the course of the meeting my screen starts to dim. Depending on what time we finish, you may or may not be able to see me at the end of this. And it's also starting to rain, so if you hear some background noise, I apologize. All right. Ready to roll, Mr. Sindorf?
I'm ready to roll. I'll be here the whole time.
Okay.
This view won't change. You'll see this the whole time. We want to welcome everybody. It's been a few months since we last met together as a group, and as we kind of predicted on that last call, a lot has changed about the way the 2020 season is going to go down. We know that, marching band aside, just with school and everything, we know you have a lot of questions, and hopefully we're able to answer a lot of them tonight. My advice during the call is to just jot down your questions, and then at the end of the night, we're going to have some breakout rooms, so you'll have an opportunity to kind of discuss those and talk about the concerns you have or things you're excited about, etc. I think first and foremost, for everybody at least that's done this before, we need to kind of let go of an expectation that the season is going to be like past seasons. And if you're new to the activity, well then I guess you're at an advantage because you don't know what marching band was in the first place. But I can tell you that it's not going to be exactly the same as we've all been accustomed to. That doesn't necessarily mean that marching band is going to be worse. I think we just need to enter into the experience with an open mind and a positive outlook, and there's going to be a lot of really cool parts about the 2020 season. I also wanted to just mention that I think we're lucky to have anything happening this fall. If you read through Dr. Dolan's 57-page document about school reopening, you might have noticed that extracurriculars are pretty much shut down for the moment, with the exception of athletics and marching band. So Mr. Vitale and I consider ourselves really lucky that we kind of were granted an opportunity to make this work, and we hope that you also are feeling lucky that you are able to get out of the house and do something that is maybe a little bit more normal than what you've experienced over the last couple months. Mr. Vitale in a second is going to go over a little bit more about what the season itself is going to look like, but the overarching theme is that with all these changes, I think that the one positive thing is we're going to have flexibility to just be kind of carefree, fun, have a great experience for the members, but of course, in the back of our minds at all times, we're thinking about safety, and nothing gets put before safety.
Alrighty. So I'm going to start off with just a few updates about the season before we get into the details of the August schedule. I'm going to preface with a lot of this news is not positive, so but it's information that we want to get out to everyone nonetheless. So I'm sure, as probably comes to no surprise to anyone, all of our competitions, including the BOA Regional, have been canceled. A lot of that has to do with travel, and also just large groups of people gathering together not really being something that is going to be happening this fall. So our competitions are off the schedule, that means our weekend schedules are going to change drastically. And we're really not talking a whole lot about the fall, September, October, November tonight, because we really don't know what the fall is going to bring yet in terms of those things. So I would say that we're definitely not going to be traveling this year, no away games or anything like that. However, there is a football season that is scheduled to occur. Games are scheduled to start in October, and we have 3 home games on our schedule. And we're looking forward to hopefully having the opportunity to perform on those days. I would say beyond that, the outlook for performances is pretty uncertain right now, but we're really trying to think outside the box of maybe community performances or live streaming performances, and doing everything we can to make sure that the students of the Marching Blue Devils have a way to showcase what it is that we're going to be working on this fall in terms of performance. So a lot of that is still up in the air, and we're doing everything we can to create as many performance opportunities as possible, but again, making sure that we're not putting anything else before safety, like Mr. Sindorf mentioned. We have adjusted the show and fee structure for marching band to accommodate these changes, and we're going to go over that shortly, so sit tight for that. But like I said, our main focus this year is creating a safe way for us to get together and do band. And like Mr. Sindorf said, I think just being together, even being at rehearsal at this point, would be a welcome to just change of pace for everyone. I'm sure most of you feel like I do, and just being together in person, being able to do marching band is something that I'm looking forward to doing, because frankly I'm tired of looking at people through a computer screen. So that's what we're going to be focused on.
So tonight we're going to focus our scheduling talks and our plan on August. That's what we have a clear picture of, and the September rehearsal schedule is still very much up in the air. It depends on exactly what is happening with school. So we want to see how the August plan goes and how things progress related to COVID-19 before we make any plans beyond that. Mr. Vitale, just before the meeting, sent an email link with some important documents that you can access and kind of look through as I'm speaking about August, or you can just listen and go back afterwards and read them in full detail. I'm not going to read through all the documents, but the answers to a lot of the questions are going to be in those guidelines and those scheduling documents. First, I just wanted to mention the fact that the plan we have for August marching band, it's modeled after the athletic association that Westfield is a part of, and the rules that they have put forward for all the schools that are participating in athletics this summer. We've taken into consideration guidance from music organizations that have been doing their best to scramble and come up with plans for what this looks like for band and choir, etc. So I just wanted to mention that, because we're not just making these rules out of thin air. And very little of these guidelines was just the brainchild of Mr. Vitale and I. So I think that hopefully gives you a little bit of peace of mind that there's been a lot of thought put into the way that we're going to run these rehearsals. This plan is going to continue to evolve and be fluid. I would imagine that by the time we get to the end of August rehearsals, our whole outlook on how we're going to run September is drastically different than the one that I have in my head right now. And I think everybody is just going to need to go into it with that flexible mindset to make sure that we're able to kind of roll with the punches a little bit. So I'm going to start by going over the schedule, just briefly talking about the different parts of the schedule. Kind of like the in-school plan, we're operating on what is kind of like a hybrid schedule. There's going to be some in-person activity, which is really great, and that's what I'm really excited about. But there are a number of limitations to those in-person rehearsals. Most notably, those limitations kind of affect the amount of time that we're able to spend together as a large group. if you think about a day at Lake Owego when we go away for camp, we're together from the time we wake up and eat breakfast until well after dinner, before we go to bed. And that's just not possible in the current climate. So the in-person time is pretty limited. In order to kind of supplement that a little bit, we've included some time for virtual meetings that we can get together and work with the professional staff. It's not going to be a perfect system, as you know from your, those of you that are musicians in the group, as you know from your experience probably last spring in band class. It's not like everybody can get on to a Zoom call and just play their instruments at the same time and it's all going to line up. That's just not the way that the internet works. So we're going to be creative with the way that we're utilizing those virtual rehearsals to still get some work done. We're also going to utilize the virtual side of things to kind of take care of one of the really important parts of being a marching Blue Devil, and that's the social side of things. Mr. Vitale and I feel really strongly that we still need to make an investment in that side of the program. And you'll see on the schedule that there are going to be some optional events in the evenings for you to attend where we can all get together and continue that community feeling. So we're going to just take a look at that Bandcamp schedule. The first thing that you note about the schedule is that there's some restrictions on how many people can be in person at the same time. Basically what happens is the band is going to be kind of segmented into various groups. And you can see they're labeled A through H on the document. And those groups are going to kind of exist as their own little thing, at least through August. So that the 15 to 20 members or so in those groups kind of associate with themselves and with their instructor, but they're not necessarily mingling with the other members of the band and the other instructors, and that creates kind of a messy situation. So we're looking to utilize those groups to meet separately throughout August. On a typical day of marching band in August, if you were to scroll into the middle of the schedule, because the beginnings, we're going to kind of ease our way into it. On a typical day, everybody is going to be at Edison for a rehearsal in the morning. Now, when we talk about the guidelines for rehearsal in a little bit, you're going to find out that we can't have all 125 people at Edison at the same time for a number of reasons. So we have split up those groups so that everybody is going to have rehearsal for an hour in the morning, but your times are staggered. So if you are, for instance, in the color guard, you're in group A, you're going to come to Edison between 8:20 and 9:20. And you're going to have your rehearsal with the color guard staff, and then you head home. So everybody is going to have 1 hour. It's just kind of offset from each other in that morning block. And then in the afternoon, depending on the day, you're either going to have some sort of online sectional, like on a Google Meet call with your instructor. There's also some times where we're just going to kind of leave the afternoons for personal practice and have some opportunities for you to work with the section leaders, maybe on some assignments that we give you to work on that day in the afternoon. That's a basic day. You'll see that, the schedule is pretty jam-packed when you look at the master schedule with all the stuff that's going on. Band is happening all day, but any given member has their hour in the morning and then either an hour and a half sectional in the afternoon, or on some days some personal work and an optional social event in the evening. So just keep that in mind when we talk a little bit later about the kind of stuff we're going to be doing in those rehearsals. Obviously, from just an hours on the schedule perspective, we're going to have a little bit less time each person individually at rehearsal. And eventually you can go back and just take a look at the way that we're going to start things, but we're going to do the beginning of this process, the first couple days of camp, in a very structured way. We're going to kind of ease our way into it. We're not going to, first day of band camp, have everybody come into this right away. We're going to kind of ease our way in so that not everybody is going to be going to Edison on the 20th or the 21st. We're going to start kind of virtually and then ease our way into that. By Monday, the 24th of August, everybody will be in person. Okay, I'm going to switch now to talking a little bit about the guidelines for what those in-person rehearsals are going to look like, because they'll be a little bit different than our normal flow of rehearsals. So if you want to switch, if you're following along on these documents, you can switch over to the August guidelines for rehearsals. Obviously, we are, in the name of safety, we are required to collect information about how you're feeling and some background information related to COVID and your health that will make sure that we're all safe in the environments that we are entering into when we arrive for rehearsal. You'll see on the document that there is split up into a couple different time periods. First of all is before rehearsal. There is a questionnaire that's linked there that everybody fills out. It's just filled out one time and it's very basic information. Basically like, have you had COVID-19? Is anybody in your immediate family has had the virus, etc. And that just happens one time. There's also some information on this document about students who have a pre-existing medical condition or otherwise immunocompromised, and some clearances that might be required from a physician before you're permitted to participate with us. And then, like I said, the questionnaire gets filled out one time. If you fall under a category of somebody who might need a clearance, you can get that handled. And then every day that you attend in-person activities with the marching band, we're going to need to have you fill out a daily screening form. And that can be done the morning of rehearsal. You log in. We're lucky to have it set up so that it can be done online. And that morning, you just answer a couple yes or no questions on your online form, and that's going to auto-generate a message that says, yes, we'll see you at Edison, or as a result of your responses, you are not cleared to participate today, and you need to go, see a doctor and get medical clearance to return with us to in-person rehearsals. So that daily screening form gets filled out every morning. In addition to that, we are going to have to check in with every student as they arrive to the field at Edison. This is one of the reasons why when I started, I said that we weren't going to all 125 of us show up to Edison at the same time and have rehearsal, because you can imagine the line that would create for a daily screening procedure. So that's kind of the reason why we have you staggered. So you're going to have filled out your screening form at home. You are going to arrive at rehearsal 20 minutes before your scheduled start time. And there's going to be a location where you can come and I will verify that you have filled out the questionnaire and that all your answers permit you to be at rehearsal. And then we're going to do a contactless temperature check at that check-in tent, just to make sure that everything's cool and ready to go, and then you can proceed to rehearsal. There's, at the very bottom of this document, we're not going to talk through
Whoop. Mr. Sindorf froze. Bear with us for 1 second here. Hang on 1 second, everyone. Sorry about that. Try to call him back here. Apologies. See if I can get him here. If not, I will. Okay, well, we will reconnect with Mr. Sindorf as soon as he's available. I guess we live and die by technology, and we're dying by it tonight, so I apologize for that. I'll tell you what, I'm going to go on to the things that I was scheduled to talk about, and we will circle back to Mr. Sindorf's stuff when he's able to rejoin us. So I'm going to give you a show update here. As we sent an email back in June, I believe it was, that we parted ways with the American Faces show that we were originally scheduled to do for this year, and the show that we ended on for this year is we chose it because we have the flexibility to add to it. So we're starting with like a 3 or 4 minute production. We obviously have much less rehearsal time than we normally would, so we need to take that into account with what we're preparing so that, we're setting the students up for success. But we do have additional music that we can add to this. So if we're getting through it and we're cruising along, we can add to that. So the title of the show is called Back to the 80s, a slight play on words because we're going to be playing some music from the movie Back to the Future, as well as music by the band Journey. So we're really excited about this. For the upperclassmen, this is definitely outside of what we would typically program, but I can assure you, like, our music arrangers are all the same. It's going to sound like any other Marching Blue Devils production that we all love. It sounds like marching band music, and you guys are going to have a blast performing it, and the audience is going to have a blast listening to it. And one thing we had to consider is that our audience is drastically changing. We're not competing this year. We have to take that into account, and really our main audience is going to be at football games. So we wanted to make sure that we were programming to that audience. We also wanted to make sure that we gave the students something fun to work on, because there are a lot of things that we can look at that are like a negative spin on this season, and we wanted to make sure that the music and the program that we were working on was something that we can all get excited about. So we're excited about that. The music is written, and we'll be distributing it to students next week and getting going on that. So all is well there. All movement on the field is going to be done in a socially distanced manner. So we've already been in contact with our drill writer, Bobby Jones, and just making sure that everything that is written for us on the field is taking into account that we need to stay a little bit further apart than we normally would in a marching band production. So all part of keeping everyone safe. We will not be wearing our traditional uniforms this year. A lot of that has to do with the fitting process, and there's just a lot of pieces involved that become really complicated when we can't get people close together. We also can't have parent volunteers coming in contact with students like that, so we had to get a little creative, and we're really excited to be getting a special uniform for this year. It's all built into the fee, and we're really just reallocating money. So normally there's a $40 uniform fee that we earmark into a special account that goes towards the purchase of new school uniforms when that happens. But this year we're taking that $40 and we're going to be purchasing a digitally designed uniform top that one of our graphic designers is putting together for us. And that uniform top is going to be slightly specific to the show, so the design will have something to do with our production, but it's also going to be very Westfield, so our W is going to be incorporated in it in some way. It's a long sleeve shirt. It's a much higher quality than our like typical t-shirts that we get, but we're really excited about that. And the very cool thing about it is that the students will get to keep those shirts. So that's going to act as our uniform, and then we're going to ask everyone to just wear black pants. We're not going to be really specific about it, but you'll be responsible for providing those and any kind of sneakers. I'll talk a little bit more about shoes in a minute, but we're trying to keep things simple and not overcomplicate things with the uniform this year. The baseball hats will still be part of our uniform. The visual design of this show is inspired by the Memphis art movement. So if any of you are familiar with that, that was kind of an art movement in the 1980s that basically dealt with, you can just Google Memphis art movement and see a bunch of pictures, but it's basically geometric shapes and like pastel color palette. It's very 80s. As soon as you see it, it screams 80s. So we're looking forward to sharing that type of imagery through flags and through our uniform tops, along with the great music we're going to be performing this year. So that is the update on the show. Let me just check here. I'm going to call back Mr. Sindorf because I think he is ready to go. So let me do that, and then we will resume here. Really thank everyone for your flexibility. It's lovely Skype music. There he is. Hi, Mr. Sindorf.
Explain to me how your internet connection is more stable in the parking lot of a library than my own house.
I actually thought it was my internet, and I started freaking out because I'm hosting the live stream, so I thought we were goners, but so I was a little bit relieved to know that it was yours. It's okay. So, Mr. Sindorf, we went through the show update. We just did that much, and I figured you could just pick up where you left off.
Yeah, so I think I left off by letting everybody know that there's going to be a process for checking in and screening.
Yes.
Every day in rehearsal. You're going to come to the tent and verify your the completion of your pre-screening form, get a contact list, temperature check, and then you're good to go for rehearsal. Rehearsals, as we saw on the schedule, are going to be limited to 1 hour. And obviously, because one of the big limitations that we're going to have, these are all outdoor rehearsals, and we're not going to have access to indoor facilities. So that just means that we're going to need to plan ahead a little bit in terms of bringing adequate water, because you're not going to be able to go inside and fill up your water bottles. You want to use the bathroom before you leave, and that of course also means that we don't have a place to go in the event of inclement weather. So if Mr. Vitale and I are going to be pretty liberal when it comes to weather cancellations, just because of those limitations. You can read on the document about the things we're doing to do all the things that have been recommended in terms of wearing face masks, distancing within our groups and outside of our groups, that those Group A and Group B and Group C never mingle within together, and that they are separated. We're also going to be having to kind of rethink some strategies in terms of equipment and how that equipment is shared. Like the example that I keep coming up with that is a real life example is like in the front ensemble, for instance. It would be totally normal in a given show in any given year for somebody to pick up the triangle, play the triangle, set it down on the table, go to play the bass drum. Somebody else comes, picks up the triangle, goes to play the triangle again, and that's not going to happen. Everybody's going to kind of have their own station, have their own equipment, and we're going to make sure that none of that stuff is shared. You'll also be able to read in the document about the management plan. Like all the other stuff, this was kind of like presented to us. This is something that we're following to be consistent with athletics and what the rest of the school is doing. But it just gives you some indication of what would happen in the event that somebody were to fail a screening, or somebody were to have a positive COVID test, so that we're prepared for exactly what happens. I also wanted to mention a couple of things in there. I don't think, I've been talking a lot about the students getting screened, but of course we have a whole separate set of procedures for the staff, and the staff are going to be screened every day, and even down to like I am going to be the person doing the daily screenings, but like to the extent that like I take my own temperature and send a picture of it to my supervisor. So we're doing everything we can to follow the athletics guidelines, and also, of course, make sure that everybody is safe as best we can manage it. As you read through these things and you maybe like click through the daily forms, I think it's going to become apparent to you that that like the normal feeling in terms of attendance is going to be a little bit different. The vibe around attendance is going to be slightly different for marching band this year. Obviously, we're always preaching about like how attendance is super important. We rely on each other, and the person standing next to you on either side is reliant on you. And of course that's true, and that kind of takes on a different meaning this year, that we all really take this stuff seriously, as inconvenient as it is, and as as obtrusive as it is to the way that we normally conduct our business. It's necessary. And there are I can say with 100% certainty that there are going to be people that fill out their daily form and they have a headache, and they need to claim that on the form, and they can't come to rehearsal, and then they have to go through the process to be cleared to come back. And we want you to know that Mr. Vitale and I understand that, and that's going to be, something that, of course, is going to be a cleared absence, is going to be an excused absence, and is just going to be kind of our reality this season, that there are going to be periods of time where people are out of rehearsal, just to make sure that we're like kind of all relying on each other to be safe, and that's okay, and we're going to try and be as flexible as possible.
If I could just add to that too, I think, and we'll be talking to the students about this ahead of our first in-person day, but it's extremely crucial that everyone is honest when you're filling out these surveys, and not apprehensive about being honest for fear of not being able to come to rehearsal, because the quickest way to get all of this shut down is for someone to come to practice exhibiting symptoms or anything like that. So like Mr. Sindor said, our main concern is that everyone can be safe and that we can continue to do marching band for as long as possible, and the only way that we can do that is if everyone takes these guidelines really seriously and is completely honest with how they're feeling every day, so that we can just ensure everyone's safety at all times.
And we know that it's a lot of change. It's a lot of new protocols and just new routines for us as a band. And we're going to try our best to go as slowly as possible. We don't expect that you're going to read through this document one time and be able to recite it to us. That there's going to be a learning curve to it, and we have hopefully set it up so that we can experience that learning curve safely. You'll note when you go back and look at the schedule that that first day of camp, that Thursday, that we all get together, we're going to be all virtual that day, and the first thing we're going to do is have a full band meeting where we go over exactly what's going to happen when you come to in-person rehearsal, and we'll review all that together. And then later that day, you're going to have a meeting with your specific section, so that as a section you can talk about the things that are specific to you. So the color guard can talk about how they're going to distribute equipment, and how their protocols are going to go, and the wind players can hear about how they're going to get their instruments from the shed and where the stuff's going to be stored and how we're going to sanitize stuff, and we can be as thorough as possible so that when we all do eventually arrive to Edison for your first rehearsal, you can feel comfortable, and we can all feel comfortable trusting in each other that we're doing the right thing.
Fantastic. All right, anything else on that front, Mr. Sindorf?
No, I'm just happy that I made it through without my internet crapping out again.
Me too. Okay, I just have a few more things here, and then we're going to move to the breakout rooms. A quick update on the cost of marching band this year. It is, as I'm sure you can imagine, extremely... it takes a lot of time for us to write refunds to 125 families, so we have not deposited the initial checks that everyone sent. We're actually going to destroy all of those checks because the cost of marching band has drastically changed given the circumstances that we just outlined. So any checks that were mailed to us in June for registration will be destroyed and will not be deposited. If anyone would like their check back, send me an email today preferably, and I will be more than happy to set that aside and mail it to you or get it to you somehow. And I will say this too, after this meeting tonight and after families have a chance to look through all of this documentation, if you decide for your family that marching band is not something that you feel comfortable sending your student to, that's perfectly fine, and there's no financial penalty for withdrawing at this point. I think it's all what everyone is comfortable with, and we hope that based on what you're seeing and hearing tonight that you will feel comfortable sending your child to marching band, but if you don't, we certainly understand that. I will be sending a Google form early next week just asking for everyone's intentions so that we can start placing orders for uniform tops and things like that. We'll need a firm head count of how many kids are going to be in the band. All of the forms are on the website on that link that I sent you. The first payment is going to be $100, and the second payment, which won't come until October, is estimated at $100, but we're going to reassess and kind of see how the season goes. We mapped out a budget with the Band Parent Association, and we're just trying to cover our costs, especially considering this could be a low year for fundraising because of just limitations for doing that. So it's not going to be more than $200, but there is a chance it could be less than $200. So we're asking that you not pay the full fee. We know some families do that. You just would rather write one check and not have to worry about the second payment. We're asking that you just send one check for $100 right now, and we will update you on what the second payment will be and when it's due. The extra item form and checks, we're going to need to recollect those as well for a couple reasons. We are not wearing our traditional marching shoe this year, so I have removed that from the extra item form, and you will see that on the website as well. And we're also thinking that some students may want to reevaluate how many t-shirts they're ordering, since that's you're not going to be wearing those t-shirts under the uniform, since the uniform is a long sleeve t-shirt, that you may want to order fewer t-shirts than you originally had. And rather than trying to juggle all the changes for 120 people, we're just going to recollect those forms and recollect those checks and do it that way. So you'll see on the extra item form that there is the $100 first payment, extra shirts, how many you want, and extra hats, how many you want, and then totaled up at the bottom. So it includes the registration fee plus the extra items all on one form. You can make one check, and we're asking those checks be mailed to us at the high school. To my attention, the address is on there, and that should be postmarked by August 20th. We will not be accepting any forms or payments from students at rehearsal. They cannot hand those in for obvious reasons. So we want those mailed to us and not sent to rehearsal with your students, please. Okay? A reminder to rookies that you will get a free hat, the same hat that's on the extra item form. That's part of your fee. We give a rookie a hat every year in their first year in the marching band. If you would like to order additional hats, you can. For upperclassmen, if you don't have a hat or you lost your hat, you need to make sure that you have one. So that form is where you can order it. Okay. Masks. Each student is going to receive a mask from us, hopefully on the first day that you come. We're going to ask that you bring your own mask to wear that day, but you should receive a mask from us. And these masks are specially made for us. They'll have our logo on them, and they actually have a Velcro flap that folds down, and there's a small cutout for your lips. So when we take water breaks, you can just drop it down, get a drink, and put the Velcro back up. When we eventually get to playing outdoors, it's possible that we could have these masks on, and that when it's time to play our instruments, the flap folds down, you play your instrument, and when we're not playing our instruments, the flap comes back up. Okay, so every student's going to be receiving one of those. It's no additional charge. It's built into your fee. The BPA is going to be ordering those. There will be an online store set up for anyone who would like to order additional masks, and I will send you that link probably on Monday morning. It's going to be open for about 2 weeks, and you can order additional masks. We also have a version of a non-musician mask, which is just the regular mask without the Velcro flap that will have our logo on it. And if you would like to order those, you can as well. Okay, so all that will be coming out on Monday, but we just wanted to let you know that that would be happening. The health history update form. So this is the only medical form that's not specific to COVID-19 that we will be requiring this year. It does not require a physician's signature. It just needs to be filled out by a parent, and again, mailed to my attention at the high school. That form is on the website, the marching band page that I sent earlier this evening. It's a one-page form. It's simple health history questions, and all you need to do is fill it out. And again, that should be postmarked by August 20th. Okay, so all forms and checks mailed to WHS at my attention, all checks made out to WHS Music, all that's clearly marked on the forms. If you have any questions, you can email me. The only other thing, and then these were 2 questions that have come up in our early conversations with the Band Parent Association. Gym exemptions this year will not be offered, and that is across the board for athletics and band. And the big reason for that is the fact that we've gone to an 8-period day. Okay, and that was an administrative decision. So no athletics or marching band students will be given gym exemptions this year. So we want to make sure everyone knew that. And the other question that came up that I wanted to make sure everyone was clear on is if you choose the fully virtual option for school, for the Westfield High School school day, you will still be able to participate in marching band in person after school. We got clarification from the administration that that will be the case. We understand that some parents may be uncomfortable sending their students into the building for indoor learning activities, but outside where we have a lot of space and can ensure that people are distanced and wearing masks, you might feel differently about that. Okay, so if you are choosing to do the fully virtual option for school, you can still participate in marching band, but just know that if you are participating in marching band, that in-person portion is something you would be expected to be at, obviously, as long as you're feeling okay. All right, and that's all I have. Mr. Sindorf is going to just talk through the breakout rooms, and then we'll head off to the second portion of our night.
All right, so we have some different breakout rooms for various groups of people, so we can get you split up into some small groups and you have a chance to ask questions. Adults were emailed some Zoom meeting invitations, and they're split up by sections, so you can check your email, click on those links, and join up in a Zoom conference. If you like, that's optional for you, but there's going to be some veteran parents in there that can answer questions. Anybody can get in there, and you can be asking each other questions about the upcoming season. And I know that even for the adult side, that it's very much a community of friends, so I'm sure you would be eager to just get together and see each other. So there'll be a Band Parents Association member in each one of those groups that can kind of moderate, but we invite you to go to attend those Zoom sessions and kind of socialize for a little bit here as we break out. Students, you have been sent, we are in a Zoom-free zone. So you have been sent some Google Meet links, and you can access those Google meetings now. I have them open and ready to go. And there are going to be student moderators in each of those rooms so that you can kind of socialize, get to know each other a little bit in each one of your sections. If you're accessing those Google Meet links in with an address other than a Westfield address, it might ask for you to just be patient for a second as I give you permission to enter the room, but I should be able to give you that permission to enter the room in just a few moments. So just be patient. Don't leave right away. I will try and click through all the rooms and let everybody in. All right? So thanks so much for your patience tonight. We are excited. Even though there are, like I mentioned in the beginning, that the season is going to be a little bit different, we are excited that we're going to be together and we're going to be able to see you soon. So enjoy the breakout rooms, and keep an eye on your email for more updates, and we hope to see you in the 2020 season.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.